Hi YouTube! Today we're finally playing Chaos Head, a 2008 game in 2025. Better late than never? No. Stop playing videos. I don't want you to play videos. It started in Japanese and I need to figure out if I can change it. Or if this is just in Japanese and I have the wrong, and I downloaded the wrong here, English. I'm allowed to have this in English. Wonderful. So now that we got that figured out. Oh, I didn't get the music. I'm sorry. Ah! 1 second, because it was still playing my music from my BGM. There we go. Now we're good. Oh, I can play in higher resolution. Okay, wait. Big. 1 second. So I can do this. This. See? Streamer is so organized. And yeah, there's a change costume, and I think that is what I was talking about, if there's just like a swimsuit DLC. But we're gonna not do that. Right here. Okay. Overall, I think this game is kinda loud. Voice cinch. Okay. We got organized. We launched a game. Surely this game that had 2 decades to be fixed will work. Shaking my head, streamer doesn't know Japanese. I didn't say that. But do you guys know Japanese? Okay, I probably don't. I don't know Japanese well enough to play this game in Japanese because it has a lot of like sci-fi language and stuff. So I don't think that would go well. But I know a little bit of Japanese, you know? A little bit. Let's hydrate. And let us go and actually play a game. Chaos Head Noah. You are God and the illusion becomes reality. But what kind of the noids you get? What the fuck is a noid? Is it the sensual world? The despotic society? Destructive sanctions? Or... Ooh. Why does it allow me to continue? Start.
視線が空から降ってくる。その瞳はいつも僕を見つめていて、眼差しは熱くて真っ黒な雨雲を突き抜けて、雨のように僕へと降り注ぐ。僕を見るな。雨の冷たさより、背中を預けている瓦礫の冷たさのせいで、さっきから体の震えが止まらない。ひどく寒い。突き刺さってくる誰のものかもわからない天からの視線。それから逃げるように僕はわずかに首を持ち上げて周囲を見回す。そこにあるのは崩壊した街。そこにあるのは絶望。そこにあるのは死。そこにあるのは無。誰もいない。誰も動いていない。誰も生きていない。聞こえるのはただ降り続ける雨の音だけ。このまま全てを生きているものも死んでいるものも全てを優しく包み込んで洗い流してしまうんだろうか。全部の出来事が単なる妄想だったらよかったんだけど、どうやらそうでもないらしい。体が動かない。動かせるのはかろうじて首と瞳だけ。体が震えているけど、そんなのただの生理現象でしかない。僕の意志じゃない。 僕は身を震わせたいなんて思ってない。僕の自由にならないなら、こんなの僕の体じゃない。あるいは、生まれた時から僕は自由なんかじゃなかったかもしれない。心の保管してある場所なんて誰にもわからないんだ。それなのに、一体誰がこの体の中に僕の心があるって言い切れるんだ。でも、だったら僕はどこにいたんだろう。僕はここにいるのかな。僕は
Bro
ど
is
こにもい
yapping.
ないのかな。すべてが静止している、壊れてしまった世界に、ふと死の雨以外の音が響く。無の中から浮かび上がってくるたった一つの言う。君は誰？その肌が青白く見えるのは雨の冷たさに凍えているから？それとも君がもう死んでいるから？でも彼女は震えていなかった。そして前髪で隠れそうになっているその瞳は、奥を見るな。ひどく悲しそうにも見える。狂気じみているようにも見える。何も映していないようにも見える。もしも世界には僕と彼女の
I
二
need to
人
go
だけ
back
し
to
かい
playing
なく
the
て、
ends. I missed some. Play
こう
visual
して
novels. Visual novels are so
お互い
good.
だけを永遠に見つめ合っていたら、僕の世界は彼女
I'm
の
totally
瞳
not
に映るも
obsessed.
のだけになるのかな。彼女の世界は僕の瞳に映るものだけになるのかな。彼女の瞳に映るものは僕。僕の瞳に映るものは彼女。そう考えると、世界は途端に矮小化する。不意に僕の耳に届くとても綺麗なノイズ。彼女はうなだれて両手を左右に広げる。まるであの雨雲の上へ向けて飛び立とうとするかのように。あるいはこの雨すべてを受け止めようとするかのように。
Oh,
あなたは別に
うなだれた彼女の表情は僕の位置からも伺い知ることができない。
what kind of fancy ass weapon is that?
雨の薄膜の向こうで君はどんな顔をしている？
殺してあげる。
天使。乱舞する光の羽は僕を祝福しているのか、それとも、ああ、そうか、理解したよ。それで
Huh?
僕を殺してくれるんだね。ゆっくりと倒れている僕の前に彼女が膝をつく。
What is
未だに
happening?
彼女はうなだれたまま僕の頭をそっと抱えてくる。僕を見てくれないことに僕はほっとしてただ身を委ねた。耳元でささやき、きれいなノイズ。でもよく聞こえない。暖かくて柔らかくて優しくて甘美な感触。それは麻酔のようで、不思議なことに体の震えがゆっくりと収まっていく。彼女のかすかな鼻息が僕の頬をくすぐる。
Kissing on stream. What's next? Hand
と
holding?
ても甘い匂い。
What? No. What is happening?
胸に圧迫感を覚えた。彼女の持っていた大きな剣が僕の胸の皮膚を裂き、肉をえぐり、骨の間を縫い、ゆっくりと体の中に沈み込んできている。
I'm so
でも
confused.
彼女のキスという麻酔にかけられて、もう痛みを感じない。
Kiss into stab stab is such a crazy way of summarizing this scene.
涙が溢れそうになって
Bro got baited.
それを
Point
ご
and
まかす
laugh.
ために彼女の頭越しに雨を落とし続けている鈍色の空を見上げた。空が滲んでいるのは雨のせい、涙のせい。もうあの視線も感じない。もう何もない。薄れゆく意識の中で僕は空へと手を伸ばす。誰か教えて。
Oh, I like that.
僕
That
た
was
ちの
nice.
あの空はどこ
Also,
へ行ったんだ
chat,
ろ
pay attention. Learn Japanese. Because you get, like, the Japanese and the English next to each other. Use that to learn. I'm gonna, like, lower the volume so I don't get bonked on YouTube. Haha. Haha. I'm talking over this. We're talking over the nice music. That is very nice. That was blood, wasn't it? I'm actually able to follow some parts. Which ones? Kisushite. That one you got, huh? I've never heard this song before, but it has such an, like... She's levitating! What? Anyway, this... I've never heard this song before, but it has such a predictable, like, melody to it. That I can sing along to it without ever hearing it before. This is a very bloody... what is happening? What am I getting myself into? Genuinely so confused. What am I getting myself into? Bow, bow. What the fuck was that? What is happening? I told you the art style is one of those messed up games. Oh, I thought you just meant that, like, it was like an old art style. I genuinely thought you were calling it ugly. You can't see a gaze. It can see you, but you can't see it. It's weird. For as long as I could remember, I had often felt a gaze staring at me from somewhere. I would turn around, and nobody would be there, but I would be sure somebody was looking at me. I could feel this sensation, like something crawling on my neck. Was I just too self-conscious? Did I have some kind of phobia about being looked at? Up until elementary school, I honestly believed that it was God. God is watching me, I would say. I did turn the sound back up. It's just that right now there's just a little bit of sound effect, and otherwise, like, it's completely silent. Because I did turn it back to the volume that we had before I turned it down. I wrote an essay about something like that. Of course, looking back, I realized how silly it was. I was the biggest chuny dork. If somebody were to ever read that essay, I would be so embarrassed. I would never leave my house again. Pwehehe. Pwehehe. Is this how they translated foo foo foo? Pwehehe. I still remember the thing's title. Whose eyes are those? Oh! That's a 3D environment. I didn't know they were allowed to do that. The back of the chair I was resting in made a creaking sound, like the voice of an old woman.
僕を見るな。
I whispered those words as I looked up at the ceiling, feeling sick and annoyed. Of course, no one responded. This was my room. I lived alone. Nobody was here but me. Just for the hell of it, I turned around. The room was longer than it was wide, and it was a little dark. Is he in a... like a shipping container? The only light in the room came from my computer's desk light. There were no windows, so of course it was dark. Since I had no way of looking outside, I had no way of knowing if it was night or day. I turned toward a corner of the dark room and spoke to no one in particular.
僕の名前は西条匠、17歳。水明学園2年。と言っても学校にはほとんど行ってないけど。
Why does this keep showing my room in live? Do you also live in a metal shipping container?
まあそれでも勉強はできる方だよ。定期テストはちゃんと受けてる。しかもそれなりに上位の点数を取ってるからね。頭はいいんだ。
Of course, nothing happened when I said this. Nobody appeared out of the darkness. Dark space just existed, silently. The darkness stimulates the mind, makes it see delusions. But being able to see whatever's there makes it an unknown. You know in your head what's impossible, but somewhere inside your heart, you imagine terrible things lurking within the darkness. Jeez, whenever a scary delusion pops into my head, my mind always ran away with it. I kept talking to try and shake it out of my mind.
僕は現在アウェイじゃなかった。渋谷で一人暮らしをしてる。この紅会館ビルは父さんの経営するビル会社の管理下にあるんだけど。その屋上に設置されたコンテナハウスを格安で借りてるんだ。
Yep. Wait. Let's pause here. You are living in a shipping container on top of a building of your dad's company, and you still pay rent? Hi. Okay. How much is the rent? Anything more than 0 is too much. You're living in a shipping container at the top of your dad's building, and he's still making you pay rent.
街の環境は最悪。僕が住んでる新船町は小さな坂が多いから疲れるし、すぐ近くにラブホ街もあるし。ここが秋葉なら最高だったのに。ほんと渋谷ってひどい街だ。円数で言うとディーンズバレーくらいひどい。
ESO was the MMORPG that had made my life's work. It's short for Empire Sweeper Online. I spent almost all day and almost all night playing the game, passing my time in the world of Baselard. Dean's Valley is an area in ESO with a lot of really aggravating monsters in it. They use all kinds of obnoxious status ailment attacks, but they don't even drop decent items. Anybody who grinds there is an idiot. Good players give up on it quickly and head to the next area, the Forest of Lead. And obviously, I'm a good player.
というわけでドキュンと恋愛資本主義者が集まるこんな街は即刻滅ぶべきだね。
What does DQN mean? No, what? I actually... Chaos had controls. I actually don't know what the controls are, so I don't know how to get... I don't know what a DQN is. System menu is 1. There we go. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Tips list? Dokyun, a thug, bully, or someone who's part of the dregs of society. This is a pretty cool, like, visual. Oh, I was hoping I could actually press this, but no. Man. Back. I'm already here, might as well quick save.
でもこの部屋の住み心地はまあまあ我慢できるレベル。PC とネット環境は最高水準クラスが揃ってるからね。
That's all I need.
まあ学生にしては上等の基地じゃないかな。あ、だから僕はこの部屋のことをベースって呼んでる。
Of course, nothing in a room moved except for me. Talking to myself was starting to make me feel like an idiot, so I decided to stop introducing myself to whoever was watching me.
それにしても汚い部屋だな。
It smelled moldy. The air was so stale and damp you could feel it on your skin. The floor was piled high with empty plastic drink bottles and trays left over from convenience store lunches. The bed was stacked high with age games. I always ended up having to sleep up on the sofa. You put so much hentai games on your bed, you can't even sleep in your bed anymore, and you wouldn't even move them, and just sleep on the couch. Yeah, sure. Sure. Don't say based! Don't say based!
片付けろよな。誰だよ散らかしっぱなしにしたのは。って僕か。
I'm horrified. My creepy laugh kind of annoyed me, so I kicked a plastic bottle at my feet. It flew up almost high enough to hit my figure shelf. I screamed and leaned forward, using my own body to block it. No! Not my figures! I've got almost 100 wives, big sisters, and daughters, and I can't let them get hurt. They keep me going, so they're very important to me. You know what? I kind of love this game. This was a good choice. Is this a gooner? You're seeing this and you ask? You still feel the need to ask? Hitomi and her 100 wives, big sisters, and daughter. Oh my god. I actually do not have 100 wives. I'm pretty loyal, and I have, like, 3. I cleaned and organized the shelf once a week. It was the only cleaning I did. Every day I try to find new angles and positions to make them look cuter. I didn't want my beloved daughters and sisters getting dusty, so I always made sure to clean them. My being one of them? No. He's like somewhere in top 5, maybe barely, but anime girls for life. I breathed a sigh of relief and tossed the bottle into a corner and faced back toward my PC. The PC sat in the far corner of my room. Next to the monitor was a figure from my favorite anime, BT or Blood Tuned the Animation, Seiratan 1/8 scale pre-awakening version. Why is this part of the tips? The main character in the fictional anime Blue Tune, her catchphrase is Dork, a very typical childhood friend Cinderella-style character, has a mysterious familiar named Something. 17 years old, a second-year student at Ryusei Academy, she can use her star power to transform into a magical girl. As a magical girl, she has a magic baton she calls the Samurai Condenser. This weapon is more aptly described as a massive metal club than a baton, and at times she'll use it for physical attacks, as in smacking people with it. Blood Tune was originally a manga and would later go on to be adapted to other media. The series consists of 26 episodes and is currently still airing. Thank you. She smiled at me while posing cutely.
セーラー、かわいいよ、セーラー。
That sounded really creepy, I'm not gonna lie. I whispered as Saratan and I stared into each other. I whispered as Saratan and I stared into each other's eyes for a minute. Then I gulped down the bottle of soda next to the computer. It was lukewarm, but that didn't bother me.
さてと、円すらないと。
I sank down into the chair and put my hands on the keyboard, as the act of sitting at the computer was enough to calm me. My ESO character Nightheart was a paladin, already on his second reincarnation. He was level 50, the max of course. He was also the highest ranked player on any active server. Almost every player knew the name Lightning Fast Nightheart. They all treated me like a god. Rare weapons, rare armor, rare magic, I had it all. I had 95% of all the rare items in the game. Not as many as I wanted, honestly. And I had more money points than I could ever use in a lifetime. RMT, or real money trading, was how I made money to use in the real world. I had enough to survive for 6 months without having to get a part-time job. Okay, that's a little bit insane. That's a little bit insane that he has grinded this game enough that he can pay his rent for months ahead. I'm sorry, my dude, I wasn't familiar with your game. I was a master of the chat tool. I used it for almost all of my communication. I had even saved a life on @chan, a huge message board once, and I was always there whenever a festival was going down. Oh right, and I had way more than 100 friends on Frepara, that's a social network. Respect, trust, it was all right here. I didn't go to school. It wasn't that I didn't want to go, just there was no point. I did all my studying on the internet, and obviously you can do that at home. Of course, you needed to attend a certain number of classes to graduate, so I went just enough to get a bare minimum passing grade. This was the smartest way for a student to live. My parents were pretty obnoxious about this stuff. So I made myself a schedule for when I would go to school. According to the sheet, all I had to do was go to school 2.5 times a week. The people who went every day called me a creepy otaku, but if you asked me, I tell you that they were morons for going just because someone told them they should. When did this game release again? I think originally 2007 and 2008? But we're playing a re-release from that came out like 2 years later. Anyway, my life here is not that bad. Oh crap, I got so distracted by that gaze I forgot I was talking to Grim. Grim was the screen name of a guy I was always partied up with in ESO. Grim was the screen name. Oh, I never met him in real life, but we talked all the time online. I just brainlessly started reading from the start of the line. He brought me a lot of valuable information. He was like my own personal informant, you could say. I sat down and began to type at the keyboard. Oh, do I have to? Sorry. Oh, hey, Nightheart, what's wrong? You're not responding. Did you fall asleep? Sorry, I didn't fall asleep, but I kind of spaced out. LOL. You must be really tired. You not sleeping enough? Doing hentai stuff with your GF? Lol. All day, all night. With my GF that's standing on the left there. Not into 3D girls, LOL. Grim and I would talk about all kinds of things. Since I couldn't see his face, it was easy to tell him anything. Of course, in the real world, that's not how it would go. So you're a 2D man then? Age games? You're really in a hentai mood today, huh? You always have really perverted delusions though, right? You used to always talk about them. You really were into them. Stuff about doing naughty things with a girl in a school swimsuit? Was I? I don't really remember. Anyway, if that's what you want to talk about, let's discuss something near to my heart. Oh. Oh. What is the yes no? School swimsuit and glasses. Oh. Oh god. Oh, I have to pick? A real school swimsuit has the girl's name written on the chest. Yes? There's no such thing as a white school swimsuit. School swimsuits have to be dark blue. Why is it constantly just... God. I took brain damage from that, not gonna lie. That genuinely gave me brain damage. What is going on? I wish I knew, dude. I wish I knew. Well, come on, man. You like glasses, girls? Swimsuit plus glasses. That's the thing. Normally you take your glasses off if you were going swimming, right? And yet the girl doesn't. That's what really gets the delusions going. A complete and utter perv. That's her Nightheart. We fear him, but we love him. Lol. Calm down, man. I mean, maybe I did get a little excited. I try to be the cool silent type. Cool! Lol. Don't laugh! Anyway, what were we talking about before I fell asleep? I mean, I'm sure it was ESO stuff. You forgot? Come on, man. We were talking about the murders in the 3D world. Murders in the 3D world? What was he talking about? Shogun entered the room. Current members free. Hello, Shogun. So, I said, but Shogun didn't reply. Was this asshole ignoring me? I was trying to be friendly here. Didn't he know who I was? I was trying to be friendly. Doesn't he not fucking know who I am? I was lightning fast Nightheart, damn it. This is supposed to be a no lurker channel anyway. Well, whatever. I decided to ignore him. Also, we need to read up on the tips. Lurker. Libido. Type. Default. School swimsuit. Lol. Screen name. Falling asleep online. SNS. RMT. Paladin. 69. That's the nice thing about the internet. You don't have to care about other people unless you want to. So what are we talking about, Grim? The murders. I don't care about anything 3D. Yeah, I guess, but pretty shocking still. Shocking. Some kind of grisly serial killings or something? A lot of bad stuff have been happening lately. By the way, for a 2008 visual novel, I'm really surprised with the graphics. Like, I was expecting just very standard, you know, background, sprite, text box. So this whole thing and like the little 3D room and everything, I'm really, really positively surprised, you know? More Guro pictures? Alright, you can't handle Guro. Lol. That part is nice at least. The dialogue. I'm hydrating because I'm reading so much. No, I actually didn't want to see any of that stuff. But there were a lot of fakes and altered images going around lately, and trolls love to set all kinds of traps. You ended up seeing a lot of this stuff whether you wanted to or not.
まあ少しは目が慣れてきちゃってるのかも。
Why are you talking to yourself? Why are you saying this out loud? And to think you're the strongest paladin in Baselard. I don't PK though. PK meant player killing. Thank you. So when you attack a stranger and steal their equipment or money points. Only Dawkins did that. Dawkins were thugs and losers, the lowest form of life. I'm no Chu. I don't do things that would make other people upset. What does Chu mean? Because that one I also don't know. Chu. Someone who acts or talks like a child. The Chu comes from the word chugakko, or middle school. Okay. I never violate ESO's rules. That's my policy. I did a shit ton of RMT though. Yeah, you're the hero we all love and adore. Mochitsuka, new generation, you know about her, right? And once again, I have to find out what that means. Mochitsuka, a mid-2000s internet phrase meaning cool it, from the Japanese ochitsuka meaning calm down. New generation? What the hell was that? It wasn't something I already knew about, right? Graham seemed to act like I was supposed to know about it. What's New Gen? The New Generation Madness. They call it New Gen online for short. It's the weird serial murders going on in Shibuya right now. It's all happening right near your house, lol. Do I know this is Japanese slang 101 class? I told you guys, we're gonna be learning Japanese today. Oh right, it was coming back to me. But I only knew the basic outline. I hadn't really looked into it. Delude. It's called Delude. My kind of search engine. I searched for New Gen and got a hit immediately. The madness created by the new generation of youth.
この1ヶ月の間に渋谷で発生した2つの事件のことをニュージェネと呼ぶ。その犠牲者は胎児を含めて7人。1つ目の事件は友人同士5人による高層ビルからの集団ダイブ。2つ目の事件では男性の体内から胎児が出てきた。
I don't know, maybe bro was just really hungry. I'm so hungry I could eat an unborn baby. How does that, like, logistically, how does that happen? Logistically, how does that happen? Did the woman have a miscarriage and he ate it? I don't want. I'm not gonna try to figure that out.
これマジかよ。
I felt a cold chill run down my spine. I found myself turning around again and glancing around the dark room. Tabu News had a lot of old articles about New Gen, so I quickly skimmed them. Nippon Tabu. Supposedly the whole internet was talking about it, calling it a new generation madness. There were 2 incidents. One was a murder case that was so brutal that some TV stations weren't even willing to have their anchors describe it. And the first one, the group dive of a skyscraper. There were rumors that it might have been a murder too. The parents and friends of the deceased all said they weren't the type to commit suicide. Everyone always says that. any news site, any documentary, any story anywhere about someone committing suicide or committing any sort of crime, though everyone is just like, I don't know. There just weren't any signs. They're totally not the type to do that. There was no sign of a motive, and from a lot of other pieces of circumstantial evidence, it was supposedly impossible to believe that they were about to kill themselves. I took a quick look. Well, starting to shake and shiver? Not really, don't care. What? Gorodaisuki.com? Gorodaisuki.com? That's Are we gonna actually look at it? What is it? A picture of the corpse. He did this stuff sometimes. But if I let him get me, I'd lose my reputation as Nightheart. No matter what I was in the real world, in ESO I was a god. The strongest. I knew everything. I was stronger than everybody. I was a knight fighting for justice. Nobody was gonna make fun of me. I worked up my courage and clicked on the URL. Oh god. Okay, that's really funny. Okay, that's really funny. Chaos, head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Thank you. What the hell was this picture? Lol, you got me. Lol. I didn't expect to actually see Japanese characters. I wonder if they looked it up in 2 minutes just now. I wonder if they explain what that is, and that's why. Pips list. Here we go. An emoji that depicts a person waving their hand. Does it? Does it? Oh, is it like that this, the first, wait. I'm, because at first I thought this was supposed to be the head, but I actually think this is the head, this is the hand, and these are like the movement marks. I know that katakana, the Noah's used a lot for that. Yeah, I think it's like that, where this is just like, this is like that arm, and then these are like the movement marks in like comics, right? I think that's how it works. Shake and shiver, a phrase used by 2000s era Japanese otaku when feeling particularly terrified. Thank you. You're a generation's Picasso, lol. Anyway, that was fun, but I'm gonna sleep. Oh. Night. See you tomorrow in Baselard. Oh right, that shotgun guy was still here. I had totally forgotten about him. Not that he mattered. I wasn't feeling tired, so I decided to do some grinding in ESO. Oh wait, today was the day Bloodtoon aired. I didn't have a TV in my room. All I needed was a PC.
あと15分ぐらいか。その前にトイレでも行っておこうかな。
I looked at the figure of Seiratan next to my monitor and grinned. I was going to get to see her today. I couldn't wait. Just as I went to close the chat window, though.
あれ?
あれ? 画像 up. Is that gonna be the actual corpse this time? Shogun had typed something.
なんだよこいつ急に。
I thought he was a lurker too. From the file type, it looked like a link to an image, but someone I didn't know and someone who had never even talked to me was suddenly sending me a link. I gulped without even realizing I had done so. I didn't know why, but I felt a terrible premonition, one I had never felt with any interaction online before. Of course, I didn't want to click it. I glanced over at the clock. There were only 12 minutes left until my date with Seira-tan. I needed to wrap this up fast. What the heck kind of Komei strap is this, lol? The world changes if you click it. The world changes if you click it. Komei strap. Komei is a Japanese name of Chinese strategist Zhu Liang, who was known for his brilliant stratagems. This term is often seen in hacked video games, particularly ones of extreme difficulty. Japanese first-person pronouns. The Japanese language includes a shocking number of first-person pronouns, more than any other language in the world. The pronoun you use depends on your gender, age, personality, relationship to the speaker, and surrounding social context. Mid-2000s Japanese internet culture even has its own special pronoun, more, pronounced more like the eel, and written with the kanji for leaking, which Takumi and Grim would often use in online chats. Unfortunately, trying to replicate this in English results in a script that's frustrating and nigh unreadable, so it has been deliberately left out. Thank you. You think the translator was like trying to include it? Trying so hard, and they were like, eh. Hey
Hitomi, I heard from Jared, you weren't feeling well on Sunday. I hope you're feeling better now. I'll be lurking here. Many smooches, Jared love.
Thank you, Lord. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I really was not in the mental headspace to be able to stream yesterday, so I had to cancel. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And we'll continue Split Fiction on Thursday. I started doing this thing because when I was doing the collab with Pam, she does this like anime thing where she's like for like agreeing, and she did it so much during that 1 hour we talked. I catch myself doing it now too. The world changes if you click it. Well, what? Okay. That's the only good response to that message. Anime, aka literally every Japanese person during a conversation. Wait, do you like... I genuinely thought that was like an anime thing. Do you like... In a normal conversation in Japanese, do people also go like... The Japanese thing. Oh! Today I learned something. I genuinely just assumed it was like... it was just like an anime thing. You basically get constant feedback during conversation. Well, but it's not just about like doing the feedback as much as like the way that they do it specifically, because just like nodding and being like is different to specifically going like and like sort of like going like it's like a specific sound that like because well on is yes. I guess that makes sense. That is just on from like the Japanese just like agreeing, but like I don't know. Okay. There's a Doggin video on it. Oh, can you link that to me? I love Doggin. Does he still make content? I haven't seen him in a while. Honestly, I didn't even want to talk to this guy. He was making me nervous. I could feel myself sweating. Was this Shogun guy even Japanese? If he wasn't, there'd be no way I could talk to him. Sorry for scaring you. Huh? He was talking normally. I felt a little relieved. Nah, it's cool, man. Why were you lurking? Did somebody tell you to lurk for 6 months before you could type? I was thinking. Do I have to do it in like a scary, like, I was thinking. Where are you from? For some reason, there was a strange pause. Shibuya. Can you link it? You can link it in chat, but also like throw it in a Discord or something, so I can watch it later. The articles I had just read about the new generation incidents came racing back into my mind. Just envisioning them in my mind was bad enough. If I had seen them in reality, I don't think I could have handled it. A man's stomach ripped open, the body of an unburned baby stuffed inside. Oh, that's what happened! Okay, so the baby was put in there after he died. That is... I want to say less weird? I want to say less weird than when I thought that he just consumed it. When those 5 friends jumped off a building, they were probably just chunks of meat after they landed. Just imagining it made me want to vomit. I quickly shook my head to get the images out of my mind. The Shogun guy was just so shady, it was making me delusional when I didn't need to be. Question. When does one need to be delusional? I wish he would just go away. I'm from Shibuya too. It's such a cute, like, they're like high-fiving each other. That's so cute. You tell us, Delulu told me. I'm literally so normal. A lot of weird stuff's happening here lately, huh? It's not over.
なんだこれ。
Shibuya, shake and shiver. Fun to the power of 10 multiplied by intelligence to the power of 40 equals LR2. I don't know what that means. Or IR2? Was this Shogun guy just crazy? I'm really smart. I had never seen that formula before. I decided to run a search for it. At times like these, it was great to have access to an internet connection.
あれ
Huh?
ヒットしないな。
Was this guy just trying to pretend to be smart and writing out some nonsense formula? It didn't make any sense. This formula has murdered possibilities of the world. I have no idea what that means. Anyway, what was that link? Am I actually supposed to click on it? I thought he might be interested. Why is there so many? They're all like... The numbers like are in a series too. So it's all like related. It's so... Why is there so many though? He typed in several URLs at blinding speed. I mean, copy-pasting that... That's not that crazy. What was this guy's deal? Was he just entertaining himself by trying to scare me? Was he a buddy of Grimm's and they were having fun with me? I felt the gaze again and looked around the room. But of course, there was nothing there but a filthy dark room. Same as always. I felt a strange sense of terror. Feeling like you were constantly being watched kept you from ever truly relaxing.
僕を見るな。
When I said the words, I could tell my voice was shaking. My old filthy room felt like something completely different now. They say that sometimes, after you watch a horror movie or TV show, or hear a friend tell you a scary story, even a place you know well, like your own house, will start to seem strange and terrifying, and you'll be too scared to even go to the bathroom alone at night. Right now, I was experiencing something just like that.
くそ、釣られたりするもんか。
Shaking, I leaned toward the monitor and I suddenly felt my right hand index finger tense up as I clicked one of Shogun's links.
ちょ、
Oh! To be honest, I had no idea why I had done that. It wasn't like my hand moved on its own or anything like that. It was as if I had done it without thinking. That was the only way I could describe it. It felt like exactly the wrong thing to do, but still I found myself clicking it, as the motion was completely natural.
なんだよこれ。
I found myself staring at what seemed to be some kind of strange work of art. Something that looked like a porcupine or a pincushion, nailed to the wall in the shape of a cross. And beneath the porcupine or pincushion or whatever the hell it was, there was a pool of something red and black. I'm gonna assume that's a human corpse. There were also all these little piles of something that kind of looked like garbage. What the hell was this? The world of some self-proclaimed avant-garde artist? You know, one of those guys that make something disgusting and then say with a completely straight face, I wanted to give expression to the chaos of this world. I'm not interested in that modern art crap, guys. It was strange though. It wasn't really a Guro image. It looked Guro-ish, but that was as far as it went. So why did it feel so real? Why did it feel like I was right there, watching it happen? Could a hallucination make you smell blood so intensely that you wanted to throw up? Could a hallucination smell so strong you wanted to vomit? I started to feel a pain in my temples. The urge to vomit wouldn't go away. I tried to grab the mouse, but my hands were shaking too badly. My hand slipped off the desk and ended up grabbing the thing's cord instead. I moved it up the cord and put it back on top of the mousepad, and then closed the image. As I breathed a sigh of relief, I saw... Whose eyes are those? Horrifying. I glared at the minimum necessary school schedule I had created. I had never gotten to the blood tune in real time last night. Of course, I saw it when it was up to YouTube, so it didn't matter. But I still didn't feel any better. The last thing Shogun had said before he had left. It was like he knew how scared I was of God's gaze. It couldn't possibly be a coincidence. I tried to think of how he might know. Had my personal info leaked? Or was this somebody from ESO who was out to get me? A godlike player like me had lots of friends, but also lots of enemies. Well, most of those enemies were just haters, though. You know, guys who were jealous of Neidhart's strength and charisma. It was best to just ignore them, I had always found. No, that wasn't what was important now. Even after I logged into ESO, I couldn't stop wondering who he was, to the point where I couldn't even concentrate on my grinding. And to make matters worse, today was...
最悪の日だ。
My man, he gets me. We're both going through hell today. It was, unfortunately, a day where I had to go to school. I didn't want to go, but if I didn't follow my schedule, it might come back to bite me later. I might even end up being held back.
眠いのに。
I did my best to stifle a yawn as I staggered down the road to school. At my walking speed, it would take about 10 minutes to get there. Once I started moving, I only felt worse. I felt exhausted. It was really hard to breathe, and there was an awful sweat dripping from every pore in my body. This always happened whenever I went to school. This always happened whenever I went to school? Is school that scary? Why did I have to go to school at all when all it meant was suffering? I mumbled to myself as I stared down at the white lines on the asphalt, but I kept going. My route took me through Shoto Park. Once I was through the park, the school was right there. As I walked by a lake, I could see an older couple out for a morning walk, and a salaryman sitting on a bench reading the sports section. For a park on the outskirts of a major downtown area like Shibuya, it was quiet. It was a perfect place to relax. I sat down on one of the benches. Every day I went to school, I would always sit here in the morning and eat my breakfast, surrounded by leaves that were gradually beginning to change color, and watched the placid surface of the lake. Breakfast was a pastry I bought at a local convenience store. This will keep me going until evening. I'm gonna survive the whole day on a singular pastry? I never ate lunch. Nobody wanted to eat with a creepy otaku like me, and I certainly didn't want to eat alone when everyone else was in a group. I washed down the cream-filled pastry with a can of soda and stared up at the sky. The sky above Shibuya was always kind of cloudy and never totally clear. This was true no matter what season it was. My family's home was just a few stops away from Shibuya by train, but something made it feel like a whole different world. Oddly enough, the gray sky didn't bother me. I didn't know why, but it didn't. I looked at my watch to check the time. I needed to get going or I'd be late. Being late was the one thing I absolutely couldn't do. If I wanted to only go to school 2.5 times a week, then I needed to make sure I didn't stand out at all costs. I needed to be like the air we breathe, completely invisible. I needed to avoid the documents, the delinquents and thugs I hated more than anything, and teachers, and spend my day just undisturbed in peace and quiet. That was my goal for my school life. Suimei Academy, that was the name of the school I attended. It wasn't a very old school, it had been built within the last 10 years. This meant the building was clean and new, and it was often used as a set for TV shows with a school team. The uniforms had been designed by some famous designer, and a lot of the dumber girls had chosen this school specifically to wear them. It was, in theory, a college prep school, but the school's test scores were slightly above average at best. The school rules were really strict, but they were constantly telling prospective students about how much they respected student autonomy and independence. It was pretty funny how they tried to trick you. Well, I guess the rules were really there in name only. Nobody enforced them. So maybe they weren't trying to trick you after all. After all, even somebody like me who only went to... Oh. I clicked something on my mic arm once. After all, even somebody like me who only went to school 2.5 times a week could still graduate. By the time I arrived at the school gate, there were enough students around me that it was starting to get noisy. I don't like crowds, so I kept my head down as I walked through the gate. In my mind, I was repeating, "Please nobody talk to me," over and over. I had a sister a year younger than me who was also a student here. She would commute from home. Any day I ran into her was a disaster. Fortunately, I didn't see her today and made it safely to my classroom. I slunk into my seat without letting my eyes meet anybody else's. For a moment, I thought that some of the girls who were chatting near me looked my way, but it was just for an instant. They quickly returned to their conversation without saying a word. I knew they were all thinking that I was a weird, creepy loser. But if you ask me, you 3D girls are way creepier than I am. If you find me creepy, just don't look at me, just pretend I'm not here. Just do that and I'll live my life without bothering any of you. If you docus decide to keep calling me creepy all the time instead, that's your problem, not mine. That's what I always say. I just can't understand it. Maybe you want attention from the people you call creepy. Is that it? I stay in my seat, staring down silently at the surface of my desk, trying not to move at all.
Yo, Taku.
Out of nowhere, somebody slapped me lightly on the back. I jerked and then looked up, annoyed.
お前、今日って学校来る日だっけ?
Oh, I really like the logo for the academy, actually. It's really nice.
Misumi-kun.
What if this was a yaoi and we kissed? It was Daisuke Misumi, my classmate. He was standing there with a friendly smile on his face. He was handsome and supposedly girls really liked him. He was also a self-proclaimed playboy who, according to him, was always dating several girls at once. From my perspective, he was a man who had completely given himself over to the docking side. He wasn't somebody I wanted anything to do with, but... He was the one person in class who always tried to talk to me. He and I had nothing in common, either in terms of personality or hobbies, but for some reason he was always trying to talk to me. Sound is breaking? Are we good now? Sorry, guys. Thank you for letting me know. It had been this way ever since we became classmates at the start of the year, and I had never managed to figure it out. If I was a girl, I could understand it, but why would he want to talk to a guy?
引きこもりだからしゃあねえかもしんねえけどよ。もっとこうハキハキ答えろって。
If I could, I would. Just talking to a 3D person was suffering. I got so nervous my voice wouldn't even come out right, and since I wasn't used to talking, I would always stammer. This is a yaoi, isn't it? I wish! I get so scared of saying something stupid and being made fun of that I hated talking to anybody. You don't understand my pain. Don't tell me what to do. Oh, and I'm not a hikikomori either. A hikikomori is somebody who never leaves their room 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. That's not who I am.
女相手に緊張するならともかく、そういう態度されると、俺らホモと思われるじゃねえか。
What a shame that would be. Was he lying about dating those girls and he was actually into men? I pulled my body away from him, trying to put some distance between us. In doing so, I almost fell out of my chair, so I quickly grabbed onto my desk. Gay panic. This is just gay panic.
何してんだお前。
三角くんはホモなの？
え？なわけねえだろ。お前、俺の女好きを忘れたのか？
They're all beards.
だよね。ビビった。
ちなみに
Misumi looked around to see who was nearby before suddenly lowering his voice. He gave me a mischievous grin.
昨日このクラスの女子で3人目を落とした。誰だか聞きたいか？
Why?
いいよ、別に。
No, I can't listen to that. I'm too jealous.
だよ、もっと興味示せよ。田中だぜ、田中。
田中って誰？
お前、もうすぐ10月だってのに、未だに同じクラスのやつの顔を覚えてねえのか。ま、3次元に興味ないんじゃ、それも当然か。
He sighed and shrugged his shoulders. The one thing I could say for him was this: he had never insulted my hobby, that is, my love for 2D characters. He never called me creepy. It wasn't his thing, but he never said anything about it. In that respect, maybe he wasn't such a bad guy after all. Maybe that was why when he talked to me, I actually tried to talk back.
これでうちのクラスの可愛い女はほぼ攻略完了だ。そろそろ隣のクラスにも守備範囲広げようかって思ってんだよ。
Maybe he was a bad guy after all. At least that's what the girls would think if they heard him.
D 組によ、めったに学校来ねえけど、すごくいい女がいるらしいんだよ。なんかそういうの燃えねえか？あ、お前の場合は燃えるんじゃなくて燃えだっけか？
Oh my god. Don't use that word when you don't even know what it means.
ま、お前の興味ねえ話はそろそろやめるか。じゃあよ、ニュージェネの話知ってるだろ？
To be honest, I was really surprised to hear that from him. I thought he was only interested in chasing skirts. I couldn't imagine him looking at a newspaper or reading the news.
集団ダイブの事件さ。あれも噂によると殺人らしいぜ。
へえ。
マジだって書いてあったんだよ、スポ島に。
Wait, Sports Tokyo was his source? Who could believe a thing written in that paper? And anyway, I already knew that, and also, I didn't care.
で、聞いて驚け。その殺人鬼が女で、しかもかなり美人だって目撃証言があんだよ。
I just realized that, like, my YouTube chat in OBS was not refreshing. Because I just noticed there were messages on the like that I see on stream, but I didn't see them on my side. Do you play age games? Not on stream, because I would like to not be banned. And Highlands! Welcome. I'm sorry I'm responding to YouTube late. I didn't realize that it didn't refresh and didn't show me the messages. Why are you guys establishing dominance against YouTube chat for being able to fish?
女。
As I looked at the excitement on Misumi's face, I finally understood it. So that's what compelled him to actually pick up a newspaper. Also, maybe let me move the fishing. Where is the fishing? So it doesn't cover the text. It was a girl. It only made sense, I thought to myself. Wait, did that mean he was okay with dating a murderer as long as they were cute? Okay, but chat. Hear me out. Hear me out. I'm gonna send this to Pam. I could see myself going for that if it was a 2D girl, but... God. Misumi was looking out the window and off into the distant sky. He looked like he was on the cusp of achieving some great enlightenment.
どんなやつなんだろうな、
Enlightenment.
犯人って。本当に美人なのかな。会ってみて。
This was a man who made all his decisions with his little head. I was sure of this now. With his little head. What a beautiful way of phrasing it.
俺だけは殺されねえ自信があんだよな。だってほら、俺ってかっこいいだろ。いくら連続殺人鬼でも俺みたいないい男に会ったらコロッと惚れちゃうぜ。So he's into the yandere types. And then she wouldn't kill him, he thought? Man, talk about an optimist. I found myself feeling scared by how confident he looked.
僕は興味ないから。
でもよ、興味ないっつったって犯人は絶対この辺うろうろしてんだぞ。どっかですれ違ってたりするかもしんねえし。
The way the speaking is done is so distracting. Why is it so fast? His mouth is just vibrating. Maybe Misumi was the killer. No, that was probably impossible. But I couldn't rule out the possibility that the killer was somebody from the school. If that turned out to be the case, maybe I could come up with something about how I had gotten PTSD and be able to graduate without having to go to school. Man, I sure hope someone from my school commits murder so that I can skip school and still graduate.
なあ、今日俺と一緒に殺人現場見に行かね。ここから歩いて行けんだってよ。まだ血とか残ってるらしいぞ。
My goal for today was to get through my classes without any trouble, go home to Seiratan, and then go back inside a world where I was God.
もう小橋と長谷川は見に行ったって言ってたしよ。
本当に興味ないんだ。
We literally sound like an uka and a yaoi. We literally sound like like an uka, like What's this? I hated to disappoint Misumi when he was excited, but I had no intention of going. I opened my mouth to squeak out some excuse, but he wasn't listening.
そしたら犯人とばったり会っちゃったりしてな。犯人は犯行現場に戻ってくるってよく言うだろ。
What? What? What is that? I think I have to look up a walkthrough for this real quick. Okay. Common route, it is required in order to access the rest of the game. Choose any... Okay, so it doesn't... So I have to do whatever in the first playthrough, so it doesn't really matter. And supposedly this is like... negative delusion, reality, and a positive delusion. Chat, do we want to do positive and reality or negative delusion? You get to decide. Hit him with the yaoi beam! Oh my lord. Use this moment to stretch. Oh! Positive? We can do positive.
で、次はタクがターゲットにされるんだ。死をもって罪を償う。みたいな。罪状はそうだな。引きこもってたからってことで。
Why the hell would I want to go? Would I want to see go? What? Why the hell would I want to see go see? Okay, it's just a typo. I thought my brain was just fucking breaking. Why the hell would I want to go see blood? It would be way too scary. This wasn't a haunted house or a horror movie. People were really dead, and the killer was still on the loose. I didn't want to go anywhere that could be even the slightest bit dangerous. Actually, what was the Nugent killer's motive anyway? Was it just some crazy person with a few screws loose doing it for fun? That was probably the safest assumption. Not that I cared anyway. It had nothing to do with me. By the way, I happen to be a bit of a mass murderer myself. And what's more, no matter how many I killed, everybody still called me a hero. Of course this was an ESO, lol. You've seen C2C USB cables? Get ready for Go See Blood. That's so stupid. Why did I laugh? Just comparing me and the killer made it clear how much better 2D is than reality. QED. I desperately tried to refuse Misumi's offer while imagining myself delivering a flurry of violent jabs. The murderer? Oh yeah, I'll kick their butt the second I see them. In my delusions at least, I could kill anybody, and save anybody too. But anybody who actually went and did that stuff in the real world was just an idiot. They weren't thinking about what would happen next. The Eugen killer, for example, was surely going to be caught before too long. Then they would spend the next few decades in prison before finally being given the death penalty. I knew exactly what I wanted to say to them. You should have just done it in your delusions. I went to buy dinner. I took the route I always used to go to the local convenience store. From the base, it took about 3 minutes to get there. I knew the route well, with its filthy dark street. But today, it felt strange, like I had wandered into another world. Everything looked the same as always, but it felt like I was coming here for the first time. It was the opposite of déjà vu. Jamais vu, they call it. I had read about it on the internet once. And there was this odd smell, like rotting garbage. I could feel the humidity clinging to my skin. If I hadn't known better, I would have assumed it had just rained. The air felt sticky. And then the sound. I could hear a faint sound like something dragging. I stopped to listen. The sound was coming from the back of a small alley on my left. At least, as near as I could tell. There were no streetlights and all the houses around me had their lights turned off. So, no matter how hard I looked, I couldn't see what was going on in there. It was hard to believe that you could find this kind of deep darkness in modern Japan, especially in Shibuya, which ranked alongside Shinjuku for being a city that never sleeps. It felt a little like a haunted house. No, there was one thing that made it different than a haunted house. This darkness wasn't artificial. I didn't want to go. Going in was a mistake. I tried to tell myself not to go in. But for some reason, my legs took a step forward, as if that sound I kept hearing was drawing me in. I felt terrified. I knew I shouldn't go any further. My heart was pounding. The sweat was pouring down my face.
その先に
Who are you? Someone's pretty static whispered in my ears. Suddenly, someone grabbed my upper arm. It was so sudden I panicked and I tried to scream. But I couldn't. The most I could do was squeeze the air out of the back of my throat. I wanted to run away in fear, but my body wasn't listening to me at all. My legs froze and refused to move so much as a millimeter. There was a hand grabbing my arm. I could see it. Ew! Ew. It was a deep green and thin like a mummy's, with blood veins protruding all around it. It didn't even look alive.
行くのは
I could easily have fallen to the ground and pissed myself right on the spot. But the voice felt strangely pleasant. The fear within me that had threatened to explode a moment ago gradually began to subside.
危険
A low, tense voice. I slowly turned around. The first thing I saw was the crest of Suimei Academy. It was on the chest of a Suimei uniform. The person was wearing a skirt, so probably this was a girl. But I didn't have the courage to look at her face. She was closer than I thought, and it was all I could do to look away. Something was wrong. I looked back at the hand holding my arm. It had the thin, dainty fingers of a girl. It didn't look anything like the grotesque green thing I had seen a moment ago. Who was this girl? What did her face look like? What does her face look like as she looks at me? What was she doing here? 1,000 doubts raced through my mind, but in the end I couldn't speak a word. I just let my head hang there. The dragging sound stopped,
もう帰って
and instead I could smell...
ね匠くん
Why do you know my name? I could smell blood on her.
これはいい。
I was sitting in front of my computer monitor. I gulped down some soda in an effort to contain my excitement and did a big stretch in my reclining chair. That was a good delusion, if I did say so myself. It even had a mysterious teenage girl. Maybe I could give her a name and make her a repeating character in my delusions. This was a little game I played a lot. I could cast her alongside another character, maybe Seira-tan? She seemed a different type than Seira-tan, though. Either way, the great thing about delusions was that you could mix up 2D and 3D. And in my delusions, I was God. Anything I wanted to happen, happened.
次はちょっとエロ要素も。
I was so used to being in my base that I actually whispered aloud. I had forgotten this was a net cafe. I quickly put my hand over my mouth. We're gonna positive delusion gaslight ourselves into good yandere yaoi and hell yeah. I looked around. It didn't feel like anybody had heard me, at least. The cafe's name was At Cafe. It was the one place I liked going. It was along Center Street in Shibuya. There were a lot of loser salarymen and document-free girls here, but you got your own personal room, so it didn't matter. The room I was in, room 37, was kind of my personal spot. It was the one furthest back in the cafe. It sucked when you wanted to go get some of the free soda, but it was relatively quiet because not many people came by. I would always come here once or twice a week on my way home from school, so that I could log into ESO under a different ID. It was my way of relaxing. Neidhart was too well known, you see. I enjoyed being famous, but having to be the hero everyone looked up to all the time was stressful. That's why I like to play with a different avatar sometimes. This character is a girl. Her name was Lizlotte. Lizlotte? Lizlotte didn't really have many big accomplishments to her name, though. Whenever I played as her, I made sure other characters got the glory. I worked out some stress by playing for 3 hours. Just grinding, never really doing any hard content. Then I talked about dumb stuff and some naughty stuff with the rest of my guild. By the time I left the cafe, it was almost 9 p.m. Center Street at this hour was filled with documents. They would sit on the sidewalk like they owned the place, eating fast food and laughing at their disgusting voices. It made me want to vomit. And if you made eye contact with them, they would get mad and attack you. They were barbarians. No, they weren't even human. They were worse than that. They were animals. They didn't have a shred of common social decency or intelligence. I wish they would all just die. I meant it too. It wasn't something I was just saying. But you know, just dealing with them was a waste of time. And I wasn't the kind of guy to waste time, so I quickly left Center Street. After leaving At Cafe, I would always stop at either the nearby Manga Darake. Not Mandarake, but Manga Darake. Or the anime that was a little further away. Animate. Manga Darake instead of Mandarake, and then Animate. It's still anime, but just spelled differently. Today I decided to go to Animate and headed for the station's south entrance. There were far fewer documents here. Really, Center Street was pure chaos. Just walking through there made it hard to breathe. If I could have, I would have rather never gone there at all. I wish they would just tear the whole place down, leaving only At Cafe and Manga Darake. Anyway, it was time to look at some manga in doujinshi. Oh, and Bloodtune's 5th DVD was probably about to go up for pre-order. At some point, I found myself on a narrow street in Maruyamacho. This was the route I used on my way back to the base from Animate. I forced myself to blink several times. Then I took a look inside my bag. There were a few textbooks, along with a portable game system. The plot twist of this game is probably going to be that MC was the killer all along, judging by his internal monologue. Yeah. It's just gonna be like that, like, he thought they were delusions, but it was actually just him acting crazy and killing people. I hadn't bought anything at Animate today. Usually, I always made sure to buy at least one thing. I sighed and started to walk. From here, it was less than 15 minutes to the base. You didn't have to get that far from the station for all the lights and neon to disappear, along with most of the people. At most, you saw middle-aged couples heading for the hotels or salarymen heading to their homes nearby. It was quiet and calm. It was hard to believe that this was the same Shibuya as Center Street, with its hordes of dockyuns. It was cloudy tonight, and the moon was hidden. The street seemed even darker than usual.
まただ。
I knew the route well, with its filthy dark street. But today it felt strange, like I had wandered into another world. Everything looked the same as always, but it felt like I was coming here for the first time. There was this odd smell, like rotting garbage. I could feel the humidity clinging to my skin. If I hadn't known better, I would have assumed it had just rained. The air felt sticky.
いや、ちょっと待った。
What did I mean, again? I had felt a sense of jamais vu before. When was it? Damn it, I was getting reality and my delusions mixed up. That was what the psychologist on TV said would happen if you played too many video games. Either way, it felt like I was coming here for the first time. And That wasn't all. I felt a prickling on the back of my neck, a feeling like somebody was looking down at me. I wasn't imagining it. No matter how fast I tried to walk, the gaze kept following me. Somebody was watching me right now. Their gaze was so powerful I could physically feel it. I wanted to look back, but I decided not to. This was a game I sometimes played with myself. Whenever I heard a small sound or felt like somebody was watching me, I had played a I'm not turning around that easy game. If I turned around, I lost. Usually, whenever I felt the gaze, I had delusions about ghosts or monsters with incredibly scary faces. Yet throughout all 17 years of my life, I had never turned around and actually seen something there. I had kind of started to enjoy this game, since I knew I was probably safe. I'd listen for a moment and raise an eyebrow in suspicion, then I would say a line from a manga. It wasn't that I was too scared to turn around, okay?
貴様、見ているな。その目、誰の目？
So he says this line every single time. That's what the Shogun in the chat was referencing.
なんちゃって。
I tried to desperately remind myself that I wasn't scared, but the next thing I knew, I had stopped walking. I could feel the tension in the air change slightly. My face was damp with sweat and my knees were threatening to buckle. I gave in and turned around. I lost the game, but of course there was nobody there, not even a passing car. Why did everything feel so strange all of a sudden? The ringing in my ears had stopped. I only noticed after the sound stopped. Until that moment, there had been a sound like a ringing in my ears. But I hadn't been aware of it at all. Now, I couldn't hear anything. It was suddenly dead silent, far too silent for the middle of a city. It felt like any sound would be crystal clear. I closed my eyes tight to listen. I couldn't hear anything. This was weird. This was weird, right? Usually you could hear the sounds of distant trains, car horns, faint noise like that. So why? Were my ears broken? I wanted to scream as loud as I could. I felt like if I didn't, I would go crazy. But I couldn't. It was so quiet and it felt like if I broke the silence, something terrible would happen. Suddenly, a single sound shattered the silent world. I looked ahead and saw many shining things lying on the ground. They were scattered all over the asphalt.
十字架?
The moment I realized what they were, my legs unfroze and began to move forward. I picked one of them up. It was metal, and its long tip was sharp, like a needle. A stake? A nail? It was strangely shaped, so I had mistaken it for a cross. I gripped the stake and dazed. I could hear it, a faint sound of some kind, echoing. A cold sound, one that would make your blood turn to ice. It would start, then stop, then start again. My legs kept moving forward. I walked on, as if drawn to the source of the sound. Was it just a desire to see something scary? Maybe I wanted somebody to save me, to rescue me by plucking me out of this world of silence. It was like something from an old German fairy tale. Which one was it again? Oh right, the Pied Piper of Hamelin, where the piper leads over 100 children on march with the sound of his flute. The sound kept going. It was an awful sound, like something hitting something else. As I walked on, it kept getting closer. Yeah, no, this is totally like, well, the image that we saw in the chat. It was coming from the back of the narrow alley on the left. Once I rounded a corner, I would see what it was. For some reason, I didn't think to turn around. The very idea of turning around never occurred to me. It was like I wasn't in control of my own body. I walked around a corner and saw, in the darkness, brilliant red. Oh, fuck! Holy shit. The first thing I thought was that I had seen something like it before. Also, that it didn't look real at all. Maybe a few screws broke loose in my mind and my senses had just become numb. In normal conditions, I would have screamed, fallen back on my butt, and peed myself right there and there. I figured what the sound is now? Oh! You didn't realize! Oh! Yeah! It was something that looked like a porcupine or maybe a pincushion. Countless stakes were nailed into the wall. As I stared at it, I realized that red blood was pouring out from beneath the stakes. The brilliant red I had seen was a pool of blood. Faint light from the street lamps outside the alley just barely reached in, making the red glisten. There were also all these little glistening piles of something. They kind of looked like hunks of meat. I tried to swallow, but my throat was parched dry. There wasn't a single drop of saliva in my mouth. I had realized the thing nailed to the wall by those stakes was a human corpse. This was so far removed from everyday life, so brutal, so overwhelming. And the one who had done it, the one who had pounded all these stakes into raw concrete, was a single young girl. How could I tell? Because she was standing right there, in front of the corpse, holding stakes in her blood-stained hand. Her back was turned, so I couldn't tell what the look on her face was. But the uniform she was wearing, it was Sume's. The awful smell, like raw, rotting garbage, clung to my nostrils even more firmly. Every few seconds, I felt like I was about to throw up. I put my hand over my mouth so that I wouldn't vomit. And I finally realized where the sense of déjà vu I had been having came from.
あの時の将軍のリンク写真
I didn't realize I had spoken aloud until it was too late. This would prove to be a fatal mistake. I saw the girl's shoulders twitch as she heard my voice. Then she slowly turned around. Ah! That wasn't slowly! That was everything but slowly! Why are you here? Her gaze pierced me. Her eyes were so flat and empty. She had killed him. She looked at me with startled white eyes. Her expression then shifted to something that combined a smile with tears, and then...
よかった。
She whispered. Glad? Glad about what? Why would anybody be glad about anything right now? It didn't make sense. It was so bizarre I felt a cold chill run down my spine and quickly looked away. It suddenly occurred to me that I didn't want to get involved in anything weird. I couldn't talk to real girls anyway. Also, she was a murderer. The cops were underway. I was hungry too. Yeah, time to go home, time to leave. Otherwise I'd go crazy. Why do you know my name? Suddenly, she said my name. I hadn't introduced myself. I had never even seen her before.
あなたに会いたかった。
Her lips curled upward into a terrible grin, like a demon's. I screamed, and as I screamed I ran. I kept yelling until my throat hurt, running as fast as I could. Just once I looked back, but she wasn't following me. I was out of breath. I could hear the sound of my own panting. I was sitting in front of my computer monitor. My whole body was soaked with sweat and my clothes were too. What did I just see? Was that a delusion of mine? I still felt like I was about to throw up, so I went to the fridge, got a soda, and gulped it down. It was a really realistic delusion, if I did say so myself, but way too gory. I was even still out of breath. If it was just a delusion, how could I be out of breath? That was impossible. I felt something strange in my right hand. I was holding it so tightly that my fingers had turned white. Until that moment, I hadn't even realized it. My heart pounding, I slowly relaxed my grip and opened my palm. Bra sees a corpse, sees the girl who made the corpse, and goes, "You know what? I'm kind of hungry." Anyways, ah! Sorry. It was a single steak. Scared, I flung it at the wall. It was the steak from the delusion. I remember picking up one of the ones lying on the ground. But why? Wasn't that a delusion? I don't understand. It's impossible. I began to wander around the room, clutching my head in my hands. I needed to figure out if what I had just seen was a delusion or reality. But before I could, I slipped on one of the CD cases on the floor and lost my balance. I reached out, trying to grab something so I wouldn't fall. The only thing in reach was the shelf where all my wives resided. By the time I realized what happened, it was too late. I couldn't hold my weight, and I ended up falling back onto the floor, as figure after figure poured down onto me. Ah, damn it. This was just awful. Everything was just awful. I moaned, then started to see if my figures were okay. Yeah, I would actually start crying. If this happened to me, I would actually start crying. It had broken clean in two. I had bought that thing in an online auction. I had to pay a whole bunch for it. I tried to put the sword back together, but even gluing it together wouldn't really fix it. It was worthless now. I kicked my chair in anger, and I started to cry. Why did this have to happen to me? What did I do? I sat down and glumly stared at my now swordless Ignis. When the anger and confusion passed, I turned my mind toward the girl's face and the strange sight I had seen. The fact that I was holding the stake meant that the murder was real, not a delusion. I didn't want to admit it, but I had no choice. By tomorrow, the media would be in an uproar. I wanted nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. If I got involved with her... No, it wasn't a her. It was some kind of monster. I would be done for. I was already pretty close to screwed anyway. I had taken a murder weapon home with me. The police might even think I was the killer. And that demon saw my face. There was no escaping this now. Next, she would come after me. I needed to think. For my own sake, I needed to think so I could get out of this alive.
間違いない。
Shogun is the mystery girl, and mystery girl is the killer demon.
あの写真は事件の予告メッセージみたいなものだったんだ。
There was no other explanation for how it happened, just like in the photos. First, the girl put together fake photos on a computer simulating exactly how the murder would happen. That was her way of making the murder. No, I bet she wanted me to call it a work of art instead of a murder. Psychopaths like her always fought that way. That was her way of making sure it was perfect.
頭がおかしいよ。でもどうしてそれを僕に。そもそもあの女はナイトハルトが僕だってどうやって知った。僕の名前をどうやって知った。
What was I supposed to do? She'd be coming for me before long. She knew my name and email, so she probably knew my address too. I pulled my legs up onto the chair and crossed my hands over my knees, then buried my hand between them. The murder I had seen yesterday was sheer madness. Just the thought of it happening to me.
死にたくない。死にたくない。死にたくない。死にたくない。死にたくない。死にたくない。死にたくない。死にたくない。死にたくない。死にたくない。死にたくない。死にたくない。
Sarah was lying in front of my PC monitor, smiling at me.
タッキー、あなたはこの部屋に引きこもってればいいんだよ。したらあの悪魔だって手出しできな
I
い
love
でし
this
ょ。
game.
そのうちに警察がうまく捕まえてくれるって。それまでは誰も信じちゃダメ。誰の言葉にも耳を傾けちゃダメ。悪魔ってさ、人の心の隙間をついてくるのが好きなんだよね。油断すんのはノー。できるっしょ、タッキー。タッキー。
でもセーラ、
逃げるが勝ちってよく言うし、三次元のことなんてきれいさっぱり忘れちゃえばいいさ。あなたには一切関係ないことだって思えば気が楽っしょ。関係ないこと考えたって無駄無駄さ。いいこと教えてあげる。引きこもりって最強なんよ。だって誰にも会わないっしょ。つまり誰にも攻撃されない。これぞ最強の自己防衛方法なわけさ。
Might need to move your model a bit left up to covering something. This is the reality that we live in.
だからタッキーは引きこもりになるべきなんさ。簡単っしょ。
I genuinely did not even realize. Because I wasn't looking there, pervert. Maybe just go horizontal and cover the whole thing just to be sure. Right. Okay. I zoomed out a bit too much. There we go. That's why she was my wife after all. She was really smart. I leaned forward and gently grasped Seiratan's thin waist. Even when my face got close to hers, Seiratan didn't seem upset at all. She just kept smiling.
ありがとうセーラ、おかげで勇気が出てきた。そうだよ、三次元なんてクソくらいだ。あの悪魔だって僕みたいなキモオタのことなんて気にも留めてないさ。
3D world can eat shit!
僕は安全だ。安心して毎日演奏したり好きなアニメを見てれば何の問題もないんだ。
でもさっき言ったみたく油断は禁物だぞ。
うん、分かってるよ。
Don't believe in anybody. Don't listen to anything anyone says. Beware of anything 3D. That was all I had to do and I'd be safe.
セーラにそこまで心配してもらえて僕は幸せだな。
はい。
さてと、それじゃ気分直しに演スロット。
ライアンクロス、ライアンクロス、約束は今。ライアンクロス、ライアンクロス、果たされるから。ライアンクロス、ライアンクロス、解き放たれた。ライアンクロス、ライアンクロス、週末。
A clear voice echoed across Miyashita Park in the depths of the night. On top of the pedestrian bridge over Meiji Street as the cars came and went below, the girl they called Fest leaned up against the bridge's safety rail, seemingly oblivious to the noise below.
月夜の光が示された従者よ。
She had no audience. If she had done a real street performance, she probably would have had at least 100 people stopping to listen. But for now, Fast had chosen instead to hide herself behind the veil of the night.
この場所へつながる幻の道
All she had to do was stand here in the silence. Then she could be the one of the darkness, and for a moment, at least, freed from the filthy air of Shibuya. That's how it seemed to her, anyway.
叫びはいつしか沈黙に変わって
Suddenly she looked up at the night sky. The clouds that had covered it were slowly parting, and a faint ray of moonlight trickled through. But the bright, dazzling lights of Shibuya were hiding the hesitant twinkling of the stars.
落ちてゆく安息風に手と手をつないで
Fast closed her mouth and reached up toward the sky.
その目誰の目
Spent the entirety of the next 24 hours in base lard. I didn't even quit to eat. I dedicated myself fully to erasing Takumi Nishijo and being Nightheart. In ESO, I was a god. I didn't need to be scared of any demons. Everybody respected me. I always thought how nice it would be if I could spend forever in this wonderful world.
おおエンジェルハイロ来たこれ超レアすげえ
Angel Halo. Oh my god, that just gives me PTSD from Grand Blue.
「これは早速使わないと装備おおキャラの見た目変わったすげえこれすげえ見て見ろってグリムあナイトハルト自重しろうっせえ死ねよ負け組ちょっと街に戻って見せびらかしてこようかな
お兄
Is someone knocking? Did I hear like Oni, like brother? What? I had finally gotten one of the ultra rare drops I wanted. I was incredibly excited. All the depression I had been feeling had just blown away.
お兄ってば
An Angel Halo had a drop rate of 0.0001%.
おーい開けろ
Yeah, she's saying, hey, open up. It was completely useless and just changed the way your character looked. But this also meant that everybody could see that you had an Angel Halo, and they would all be really jealous.
やったナイトハルトがまた一歩神に近づいた
ににゃにゃにゃ
Hi, Melta.
こら開けろ
Shut up. Who's that pounding on my door anyway? I'm enjoying my new rare item. Don't interrupt me.
バカ鬼
ゲ
Yeah. That voice. The minute I heard it, my good mood vanished. It was an assassin sent by my parents. My little sister Nanami. This was going to be a pain in the butt.
開けないとひどいんだからね
Damn it. The storm was about to roll in. I didn't want to open the door at all, but if I kept it shut, my parents would be the next ones to come. They would tell me to stop living by myself and come home. My dad was pretty much the owner of this building. If he wanted to kick me out, he could. This just wasn't fair.
おーに
Shut up! Why is shut up one of these? Okay, that's really funny. Shut up! A phrase used to tell someone to shut up, commonly used when someone really, really needs to shut up. Kitakore. Deja vu, guild, avatar, PTSD, source, up. Okay. Don't yell so loud. She was still banging on the outside of the door. The walls of a shipping container are a single piece of metal, so any sound echoes really loudly. She knew that, and was doing it anyway. I unlocked the padlock on the inside and opened the doors outward. I had no other choice.
あ、やっと出てきた。生存確認。
Wow, she's ugly. This tiny shrimp of a girl was my little sister. She was 1 year younger than me.
呼んでるんだから返事くらいしてよね。お兄死んじゃったかもって思ったじゃん。
Every time I saw her, she was complaining about something. As you could tell from the way she was standing with her hands on her hips and pouting, she was a little brat. And if you ask me, she was nothing more than a huge nuisance? I know English, I promise.
うわ、相変わらず部屋の中汚な。ちょっとは片付けなよ。
I'm pretty sure she could literally put her hand in between her eyes. Nanami walked right into my room without even bothering to ask if it was okay. She thought she could do whatever she wanted, just because she was my little sister. It looks a little bit less creepy in this sprite, but in that CG it was really bad. To those of you out there who think little sisters are moe, I have a message for you. Face reality. Well, I guess she was kind of cute. If you were a loli fan, she might totally be your type. Ew! But as her real brother, I didn't feel that way about her. At all. If anything, she seemed like a little baby to me. Oh, but I don't mind loli characters. I hate that I said that out loud. Does they have to be 2D? Wahehehehe.
カビくさ。お兄の部屋って相変わらず不潔。掃除しろっていつも言ってるじゃん。どうしてしないの？まあ、どうせ掃除してくれる彼女なんかいないだろうし。お兄ってズボラだからこうなるのは目に見えてるけどさ。こうなったらやっぱりナナが掃除しに来てあげるしかないかな。
だが断る。
なんでよ。
お前に部屋荒らされたくない。
きっとそれがわざわざ生存確認しに来てあげてる妹に言うセリフ？
Well, you're not showing your older brother any respect, are you? And nobody asked you to see if I was alive anyway.
まったくなんでこんな面倒ばっかりかけさせる兄弟と血つながってるんだろう。たまに嫌になっちゃうよ。
The lip movement is brave and I appreciate that you try it, but it's not working for me. Well, so what they did is the mouth moves based on the frequency of the audio, but it just moves way too fast. It's not set up properly. What I really like, Virtue Evermore does it really nicely, where they just have a GIF for an open mouth, and it plays anytime the audio is playing. But it's like a pre-made GIF rather than like 2 frames. So it doesn't look as weird as it does here, you know?
<sighs> なんか喉乾いちゃった。飲み物もらうね。
Nanami walked to the back of the room and opened her fridge, again without even bothering to ask.
コーラしかないじゃん。ミルクティーとか用意しといてよ。
Chat, positive delusion, reality, or negative delusion? You get to pick. Wait, do we have two for reality? Are those... Okay, reality check, reality, and positive delusion. We got 2 for reality. Okay.
知らんがな。
しょうがないな。じゃあここだね。
As usual, she seemed to have no intention of asking for her brother's permission. Game audio bugged again? Ugh. Can people at OBS fix it, please? Smile. She grabbed a bottle of soda, one I had already drank from, out of the fridge. She hesitated for a moment before swallowing it down. Disgusting. She put her lips right on it. How could a girl be so filthy? This was the problem with 3D women. As soon as she left, they should throw that bottle out. Hey, wait!
美味しかった。やっぱ運動の後の一杯って格別。学校からここまで走ってきたんだ。
全部飲んだのか。しかも一気で。
I bought that soda with my own money. Being my little sister didn't give her the right to.
しまった。
Nanami stared at the now empty bottle in shock. She must have finally figured out how rude she was being.
どうしよう。また太っちゃうじゃん。
That's the issue. Huh? Why is he thinking with the call emoji?
お兄のせいだからね。
What was she talking about?
お兄がコーラ好きなせいでナナまでコーラ大好きっ子になっちゃったんだから。
人のせいにするなよ。
だってうちの冷蔵庫に入ってるのいっつもコーラだったじゃん。お母さんがお兄のこと甘やかすからだ。知ってる？コーラってカロリーすっごく高いの。だからお兄もあんまり飲みすぎない方がいいよ。今度からミルクティーにすべき。
Milk tea has basically the same calories as soda. And anyway, you don't get to tell me what to eat. Especially after you drank all my soda. Did you come all the way here just to tell me that?
もう帰れよ。
You confirmed that I was still alive. You should be done now, right? Why do you have to come into my room all the time?
お兄、冷たい。
Nanami seemed annoyed at my words. She was glaring at me with a frown. I didn't want to deal with it, so I just looked away.
せっかく心配して様子を見に来てあげてるのに。お兄ってずっとここに引きこもって誰とも喋らずに一日を終えちゃうことだってあるんでしょ。女の子と話す機会だってどうせ全くないんだよね。
Shut up! Don't make fun of me. I'm not interested in 3D girls. I don't need to talk to them.
言ってみればお兄と話す女の子はナナだけってことじゃん。だからさ、もっとナナのこと大事にしてよ。そしたら女の子との接し方もちょっとは分かってくるはずだし。
As she spoke, she picked up one of my figures. Hikaru-tan from Suicide toward the light. She stared at it. Hey, don't touch one of my wives! If you get a fingerprint on her, I'm seriously going to kick your butt.
あと、お兄は自分のことにもっと気を使って。こんなお人形さんにうつつを抜かしてる場合じゃないよ。ナナはお兄の死体の第一発見者になんかなりたくないからね。
What was my little sister trying to say? She was starting to sound like Mom lately. What I meant by that was... She was annoying!
いいから帰れよ。
そんなに帰れ帰れ言わないでよ。お兄のバカ。まだこっちには用事が残ってるの。
She was starting to get hysterical. If I made her any madder, she might go berserk. I had to stay calm.
携帯買いに行こ
は
What was she talking about?
う。お父さんがそうしろって。お兄が携帯持てばいつでも生存確認できるじゃん。お金はナナが預かってきたから今から買いに行こうよ。今時携帯持ってない人なんていないよ。時代に取り残されちゃうよ。
Shut up, trend follower. I know a lot more about what's popular than you do. I've got an internet, you know? Okay, maybe most kids my age had a phone, but I didn't. There was no reason why I would want one. I had nobody to call or text, and I didn't want to spend money on something I wasn't going to use.
だから行こう。
Nanami put the figure back on the shelf and peered up at me.
どうせお兄は機種とかわかんないだろうからナナと同じ機種にしちゃいなよ。
She took her phone out of her bag and waved it in my face.
ほらこれがナナの色が可愛いでしょ。ついでだからストラップも同じのあげるよ。
The distance between her eyes is killing me.
うわなんという手抜きキャラ。
Hanging from the strap was a small figurine of a character that was, well, whatever it was, it certainly wasn't cute. It looked like something created by a rookie designer with no talent at all. It wasn't cute or even creepy cute, it was just creepy.
手抜きじゃないもん。ゲロカエルンはこういうデザインなの。今すっごく流行ってるんだからね。は
Is he now?
あ、女子高生の流行なんてお兄が知ってるわけないか。そういうとこを直せば少しは女子と会話成立すると思うよ、きっと。
Quiet, girl. What the hell kind of name is Garo Froggy? There was no way this thing was popular. The poor girl didn't realize she was being manipulated by the media.
っていうか今はゲロカエルンの話じゃなくて。いいから携帯買いに行こうよ。あ、別にお揃いがいいとか言ってるわけじゃないからね。家族で同じ機種だと基本料金が割引されるサービスがあるからだよ。
That's new. How are they gonna check that other people have already purchased that phone? How are we gonna prove that?
家族で持ってないのはお兄だけなんだからね。
いらない。
なんで？お金はお父さんが出してくれるんだよ。
必要ない。
It would just be a nuisance. I need to Google how you pronounce that. Nuisance. Nuisance. And if I didn't pick up, she sent her pet assassin Nanami here to check on me. In other words, it would just be a nuisance, one that would make my life a lot harder. I didn't want that at all.
もう信じらんないよ、このバカ鬼。もう帰る。
ああ、そうしてくれ。
I opened the door for her to go, but she didn't move. She just glared at me, shoulders heaving with rage.
ほんとバカ、アホバカ鬼。駅まで送ってくれるとかしてよ。
嫌だね。
I'd never walked her to the station all the times she'd come before. Why would I start now?
だって最近殺人事件とかで物騒じゃんか。こういう場合心配するのが兄弟ってもんでしょ。
For a moment, what happened yesterday felt like it was going to come flooding back to me. I shook my head desperately, trying to drive the thought out of my mind.
どうでもいいし。
Whoever the new gen killer was, they weren't going to be interested in a little kid like Nanami.
ありえない。
There literally was a newborn baby.
ナナが死んでもいいって言うんだ。
She was crying. I must have really made her sad. It felt great. That's what you get for disrupting my peaceful life. This will be my little way of getting revenge. That's what you get. What an asshole. We're such an asshole.
バカ、死んじゃえ。お兄なんか猟奇的に殺されちゃえ。
She knocked me aside and ran out the door. At last the storm was over. The room was quiet now that she was gone. It was much nicer. The base was my home. Nothing was allowed to happen here unless I wanted it to. I sat down at a computer and moved the mouse a little to wake it up from my Seiratan screensaver. Then I took a big swig from the soda bottle on the table, but it was empty.
しまった。これ、ナナミがさっき飲んだやつだ。
I do find it funny that, like, because he's, like, I can't speak, my brain lag. I find it funny, but, like, he does the anime protagonist thing where he speaks his thoughts out loud, but it was, like, described in the lore that it's related to the fact that he just lives alone and he just talks to himself. So they made that, like, anime talking to himself thing a lore thing. Oh no, I just had an indirect kiss with my little sister. Don't think about that. Ew. If Nanami was a little sweeter, it might have been great, like something out of an age game, but her personality just made me feel sick. Ugh. 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 I closed the cap on a bottle and threw it into the big garbage bag in the corner of the room. It missed and bounced off the wall, rolling under the bed. But whatever. Now then, time to get back to ESO. Time to forget all the annoying stuff that happened in the real world. But sadly, I was forced to bring my time in Baselar to an end after just a single day. When I left the base early in the morning, my mental state was back in the dumps, and any improvement I had felt from my time in the game was gone. Why'd I have to go to school?
なんで今日なんだよ。最低最悪だ。
But I couldn't stay home. If I stayed home, it would ruin my whole attendance schedule. Then I wouldn't be able to graduate.
卒業って。何を卒業するって言うんだよ。
It was my idea, but still, I couldn't help but complain. Oh. When I got to the luxury residences at Shoto, I suddenly realized I had been feeling someone looking at me the whole time. But it wasn't God's gaze. There wasn't that weird feeling on my neck. Oh! As I turned a corner, I took a quick look behind me without turning around and caught a glimpse of a girl in a sume uniform. Was it a demon from 2 days ago? Suddenly my heart started to pound. I was so nervous I started to walk funny. I started to feel like I no longer belonged to the quiet morning around me. Also, what is this? I genuinely don't know what I'm looking at here. What is that? I could hear the sound of birds chirping on the power lines and the faint sound of the morning news from the televisions inside the houses around me. A lamb? But like, why is it sideways? And levitating here? Am I like looking at it wrong? I'm so confused. Something from Japan, that's shrimple, thank you. This didn't feel like a place where any kind of murder could happen, and yet I felt like I was about to have delusions of myself being brutally killed. No, I needed to calm down. I hadn't gotten a clear look at her face, had I? And if they were a sume student, it was only natural that they'd be following me. They were headed to school just like I was. Okay, I had an idea. Instead of following the path that led straight towards school, I made a right instead. I fought down the urge to turn around and try to act as naturally as possible. I kept walking, trying to contain my nervousness, and after a minute, I quietly turned around. It looks a little bit silly though. There's like a PNG just disappearing. Our eyes almost met, and I quickly turned my head forward again. Why was she following me? This wasn't the way to school. Was she actually tailing me? It was a face I didn't recognize. The one thing I could tell for sure, though, was that it wasn't the demon from the other day. This girl had glasses. Just knowing that alone made me feel so much more relieved. I decided I should just head straight to school. I'd have to cancel my usual morning breakfast, but I didn't have a choice.
くそ女子 A め
Girl A. To me, you're just pedestrian number 1 or girl A. No more important than that. So go away. Oh god. That came so suddenly. I'm sorry. I didn't even have time to mute. Girl A stopped tailing me and disappeared when I got to the school entrance. She seemed to have somewhere else to go, since she headed for the third-year student classrooms. Maybe I was just imagining her tailing me, but it didn't make sense that she'd follow me down a route that led away from the school. Was she just trying to upset me? Had I done something to make her mad? No, I hadn't. There was no way I could. At this school, I was as invisible as the air. So what was she after? I somehow made it through an awful day at school and, as always, stopped at Cafe on my way home. Of course, I sat in room 37. Usually the rooms around me were empty, but surprisingly enough, there was somebody in room 36 today. The door to the room was closed. I could see the desk light was turned on inside. I sighed a little as I went into my own room. Having someone next door made it hard to chat. I was the kind of person who always said things out loud when he chatted. A very special kind of person. Well, whatever. Time to just log into ESO. I just have to be careful not to say anything.
だよこいつら
I slammed my palm down on the keyboard, annoyed. I'd been playing for about 2 hours now. Today was just a stressful day. The pair I had grouped up with were clearly new players. As always, I stayed in the background, trying to let them have the glory for themselves, but one would always run in ahead of us and die. And then do it again. The other, a mage, refused to use any magic to help us. Our party must have died 12 times. And then on top of that, all they did was complain and chat. Freaking idiots. I got so mad I PK'd them, took all their items, and then quickly escaped to another area. It's kind of funny. Nightheart couldn't do that stuff, but Lizalot could. That was why I came all the way to Cafe to log in. I felt a little better, so I decided to take a break and go get something to drink. Cafe had free drinks and a well-stocked soda fountain near the counter. The one problem with room 37 was that it was pretty far from the bar. When I left the room, I saw that the door to room 36 was open. I had to go by it if I was going to get to the soda fountain. Oh hey, it's the little froggies that our sister had! I took a quick peek inside as I walked by, and nobody was there. Actually, I realized I had heard the sound of somebody getting up a moment ago. But there was a bag sitting next to the chair in the room. It was a student's bag. Decorative straps hung from it, stuffed animals dangling at their ends. They were Garofroggy, the thing Nanami had shown me yesterday. 3 of them too. Maybe it really was popular. Not that I cared. If I kept staring at it and then came back, they might think I was a stalker or a thief. I decided to forget about it and go get my soda. But when I saw what was showing on our monitor, my eyes went wide. The monitor was displaying the words New Gen Aggregator Site. It was in a really nasty-looking, attention-grabbing font too. New Gen. I had been deliberately avoiding looking up anything about it. I didn't want to know the details. That was how I was telling myself that it had nothing to do with me. Anyway, was there a reason the person who just happened to be in the room next to me at a net cafe was looking at a New Gen Aggregator site? For a moment, I saw the demon girl's face again, and my whole body shivered. I shook my head to drive away the negative thoughts. I was overthinking it. Yeah, I was just being paranoid. New Gen was the media's favorite subject right now, and not a day went by when the TV talk shows weren't discussing it. Everybody was interested in it. That was the only reason. Yeah, it had to be. Time to forget about it and go get my soda. I put my cup under the dispenser and pushed the button for soda. Ice cold soda came down, right into the cup. The sun was setting and it was starting to get crowded. I could see a small line of people waiting at the register. As it got later, more and more people were going to come. In an hour or so, all the rooms around room 37 will be full. That would probably be my cue to go home. I took my cup and went back to my seat. As I walked back, I took a quick glance down the corridor that led to the restrooms. She's following me to the restroom? I saw a girl with glasses in a Suime uniform disappearing down the end of the hall. It was girl A, the one who had been following me this morning. I thought I must have been mistaken, so I hid behind a bookshelf and watched the corridor for a while. But I never saw her again. I must have been imagining it, right? Yeah, I'd only seen her for a second. And there were probably a ton of Suime girls who used this cafe, a lot of whom would probably wear glasses. But what if it was girl A? What was she doing here? Was it just a coincidence? Or had she followed me? I started to feel scared. I left the cafe and hurried back to the base. I had gotten too scared to stay. I wanted to go home as fast as possible, but the streets were crowded with people and I couldn't move forward as fast as I wanted. I was starting to feel sick. I hated crowds. It felt like everyone was laughing at me. The crosswalk turned red, so I had to stop. Sorry. I took a quick look around. There was no sign of girl A. As I headed up Dogenzaka Hill, walking got a lot easier. Usually, I chose to take the back streets where there weren't as many people. But after what happened 2 days ago, I decided to take the main streets instead. That makes sense. I came to another red light and looked around again, but there was no sign of girl A. Maybe the person I had seen at Cafe was someone else after all. I relaxed a little, relieved, and turned around. Ah! Okay. I think this is a good moment to stop, to pause. I can quickly look. Did we miss any tips? Right. Oh. Okay. Yeah, we saved. And I think this is a good moment to stop for today. Thank you guys for hanging out today. This was really, really interesting. Even if the first hour of the stream was a little bit of a mess, this was pretty fun. We'll be continuing this for sure. I'm gonna be honest, like, I ended up enjoying this more than I originally thought I would. I think it's also because it's a little bit more modern than I thought it would be. Like, this is a game for 2008, so I expected it to be, like, play, like, from all the way from back from those times. Because I remember playing Steins Gate on the PSP, and that was a way more old experience than this is. You know? Thanks for stream. Unfortunately, I missed the beginning, so we'll just check the YouTube VOD. Yeah, feel free to. Only thing is, because it was kind of messy. So the first, like, hour or so where I tried to stream something else, is set up to members only on YouTube. So that I can hide it. We can pretend it didn't happen. Thanks for the stream, Purple Streamer. That's me. I'm the Purple Streamer. I am the Purple Streamer through stream. Pretend that what didn't happen. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Are there any homies streaming that I can raid real quick? Do. I hate, like, the awkwardness of me trying to find someone to raid real quick. Ah! especially when like I've been having like on this GPU, one thing that I noticed is that my or it encodes video slower. Okay, let's just quickly rate someone cute who's playing Valorant. I have not played Valorant for so long. Someone asked me recently and I was like, I kinda don't want to. Ugh, I don't want to think about that game anymore. I've been playing a little bit of Marvel Rivals. That FPS, that competitive FPS can stay. Will I ever go back to Valorant? I doubt it. Maybe if I find someone to play ranked with. That might actually motivate me. But if I go back to Valorant and I still have to solo queue ranked, I don't think it's gonna happen. Thanks everyone again for hanging out today. Quick schedule rundown as well. Thursday we're gonna continue Split Fiction with Jared. Friday, I'm continuing the Silent Kingdom collab with Mooney, News, and Foe. And then Saturday, I hopefully will finally play the new war in Warframe. Thank you so much for the follow, Ordikai. Welcome to the galaxy. Hope you enjoy it here. I hope you guys enjoy Ayo's stream, and I'll make sure tomorrow. I'm also excited because I'm hanging out. I'm gonna be eating good food, and hopefully I will be relaxed after whatever the fuck today was. Thanks everyone. Enjoy Ayo's stream, and bye bye.